Hi everyone, so I'm coming to you today from the park at the end of my street in Manchester because I'm back here now in the UK. I made it home safely, and yes, that is actually blue sky you can see behind me, and you can see I've got my sunglasses on. I got the traditional welcome home, the Manchester welcome home yesterday of torrential rain, but today the sun's come out and it's absolutely beautiful. So I thought, what better way to, or what better place to present this video from than right here in my local park. Today's video is something that I talked about a lot over the last couple of weeks, and that is the 5 best things about Japan. So here we go with number 1. Number 1 with a bullet is Japanese food. Most people, they understand Japanese food as raw fish, sushi and sashimi, but it is so much more than that. From onigiri, which are kind of triangular rice balls with some kind of filling in them, so that could be tuna, it could be barbecue beef, it could be butter and soy, which I know is one of Elisa's favourites, to yakitori, grilled meat on skewers with different flavourings, different types, cuts of meat, takoyaki, which one of my students did a presentation about, which is kind of like fried balls with octopus in, to all the different kinds of ramen and soba noodle dishes, the soups, which they managed to get so much flavour into. I mean, if you don't know a lot about Japanese cuisine, I would definitely recommend that you hunt out a Japanese restaurant. It will be expensive if you're not in Japan, unfortunately, but when you go there, the food is actually a lot cheaper than you might think. But you've got to try Japanese food because it really is absolutely incredible. Number 2, I would go with the students. Now I'm going to talk about some of the problems that I had while teaching the students, but let's start off with the positives. If you are a new, inexperienced teacher, or even if you're not, Japan is a great place to teach because the students are so respectful and for the most part so hardworking. You're very unlikely to have any kind of discipline problems with the students because they have been brought up in a society where teachers are still respected. Watching some of my students actually come out of their shell, and there is the big problem. Conformity is a big thing in Japan, and I mentioned in one of my videos before that the saying that they have is the nail that sticks up the furthest is the first one to get hit, which I think perfectly illustrates the idea of students not wanting to volunteer answers. But particularly in one of my classes, the students really blossomed and started to allow their personalities to shine through, and I feel really privileged to have been a part of that. And I'm sure if you go to Japan, you will find something very similar. Number 3 would definitely be onsen. Now, I've spoken about onsens before, and I have spoken about the problems I had with my tattoos. But onsens, if you're not familiar with them, are hot springs, and you're separated by gender, so the males go into one hot spring and the females go into another because you are completely naked. Now that might be an absolute nightmare for some people watching this video, but once you get over the initial kind of feeling of discomfort, it's actually a really liberating experience. And I think the main problem we have with the idea of being naked in front of people we don't know is that people are going to stare, and that's actually not the case at all. In Japan, groups of friends will go to an onsen, and while I might draw the line at going with people that I know, I certainly never felt like I was being stared at while I was in there. The water is absolutely beautiful. If it's a true onsen, the water actually comes from a natural underground spring, so you're sitting in probably the most natural water you will ever be in. And it is just such a relaxing experience, and something that I would certainly recommend that if you do go to Japan. A similar experience is available also in Korea if you go there. It really is a genuinely unique and interesting experience. Number 4, I would go with the transport. Now the transport's actually going to appear on both of these lists. The good things, the things that I liked about the transport, is the efficiency of it. Right now I'm in Manchester, and so far I haven't had to use a bus, but it is one of the things that really makes my blood boil about transport in the UK, is that the timetable is merely a guide, and actually in some cases it's like a work of fiction or guesswork. The buses here show up whenever they feel like it. Not so in Japan. In Japan, if you decide to get on a particular train, it is there almost always. I mean, I was there for 3 months, and I think that I experienced 1, maybe 2 delays in 3 months, and that's usually because either there is an animal on the track. Unfortunately, there is quite a high rate of suicide, so sometimes it could be that someone's jumped onto the tracks or fallen onto the tracks. But it's not something like it's not something spurious. When I've contacted Stagecoach Manchester in the past, because I've got so frustrated that I've been late for things that I have contacted them, and you usually get the same tired old excuses. In Japan, you can plan your day down to the minute, and you can trust the transport to get you there without having to worry about it. And number 5, and probably the most apt from where I'm sitting here, is the nature in Japan. I think that no matter what you like, you will be able to find it in Japan. So you know, from mountains, and okay, I hated Mount Fuji with a fiery passion. I'm not even going to talk about it in my next video about 5 things I won't miss. Go back and find my video on Mount Fuji if you didn't see it and you want to know why I hated it so much. But Eliza told me about Mount Takao and how beautiful that was, and I've heard other people talk about beautiful mountains and hills that you can go walking in. If that's not your thing, then you can go and sit by a river. There was a beautiful river near my place, just a small one, but just enough that it made the area really pretty. Beaches, forests, caves. Japan really does have everything when it comes to nature, and we may sometimes be guilty of thinking of Tokyo as just this metropolitan concrete jungle, this cityscape. But actually the greater Tokyo area has got some really stunning natural beauty, and it is something that if you go to Tokyo, you should definitely check out. That's it for this video. I hope that over the course of my experiences and over the course of this video, I've given you enough information that has piqued your interest and made you want to go and visit Japan, because it really is a wonderful country. And if you like to travel, it's somewhere that you need to make sure is on your list of countries to visit. I will be back tomorrow with 5 things that I won't miss about Japan, so make sure you join me for that one. Take care.